So today we're revisiting Seven Psychopaths, a film we've both seen before, correct?
Oh my God, if you have problems writing, or you like writing, this is the movie for you.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. My wife told me last week that she needed the break from movies because we've spent so much time.
This is actually a break from movies. Yeah.
Well, we spent so much time inside, like watching movies over, like just trying to get through the last couple of months. And she's like, I think I need a break from movies. And so she's like, if you watch something, just go watch. You don't have to ask me if I want to watch it with you. Just go watch. And then we had a string of like 5 movies that I was watching for various projects I was working on, and she'd walk by like 5 minutes in and then sit down and just get into it. So Seven Psychopaths, I think, has that right from the get-go. It has this drawing you in quality to it.
And a movie within a movie that's in the mind. And
the main character named after the writer-director of the film. And
yeah.
So today we're going to talk Seven Psychopaths from writer-director Martin McDonagh. He's famous for In Bruges.
Is there really 7?
Yeah, that's an argument for later. He did In Bruges, he did 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and the Oscar-winning short film Six Shooter.
Yes.
And today we're going to kind of, again, like last week we talked about Panic Room, an oft-forgotten David Fincher film.
Yes.
This I would feel like for the amount of not like a lot of projects that McDonagh's done, this is the forgotten one, I think, of his work.
Yes.
So... yeah, I mean, we're going to count up 7 psychopaths. We might find 6, we might find 8. But that's all going to be today for us when we talk Martin McDonagh's 7 Psychopaths on Kyle and Nick on Film. So stay with us.
I do like the beginning of this movie. I think it delivers the right punch of, like, what are we doing? Why are we talking?
And it sets the stage for, like, any of these characters can serve a minimal purpose or a major purpose. Because we're introduced with 2, now famous, I mean, they were still famous at the time the film was made, but now more famous actors that serve a lot less on the plot than we expected them to. Right off the get-go, I gotta say this. Do you find it incredibly annoying that they keep saying psychopaths in this film? I don't know why that word, but it just bothers me the more and more it's brought
Why
out.
they do just shave it down and call you are a psycho.
Yeah,
right.
Every time they say it, though, it's almost like when you repeat a word like road or train enough times and it loses all meaning. So, but beyond that, the film stars, Colin Farrell as Marty. He's a struggling screenwriter. He's very much Martin McDonagh. Like, I mean, he just is.
And then he gets called on that he's Irish and an alcoholic. So.
Oh, yeah. And of course he's got this friend Billy who Sam Rockwell plays insane really well because he is unhinged this whole movie. He's got a lot going on. He is running a dog napping business with his buddy Hans, played by Christopher Walken, in a wonderful supporting role.
I can see him and the director Matthew sitting down and just letting Sam works well if you just let him go. Like Sam will say, well, I'm going to wear this, or how about this and this and this. And I see a lot of Sam just let him go.
Yeah, that's why
just
I feel
give him
like
an outline for dialogue.
Yeah, and it translates well into his Oscar-winning role in 3 Billboards a couple years later.
Yeah.
These guys are running a dog napping business. They kidnap a dog that belongs to Charlie.
It's a good racket.
Yeah,
it's a good racket.
But Woody Harrelson as Charlie the villain loses this dog, and basically the whole film is. It's almost like a dark comedy reversal of a John Wick thing where they steal the dog and then he's like out to get them this whole time.
Yeah.
The weird thing about this movie is it's almost tough to nail down a plot because really it's like a adaptation if it was done by Quentin Tarantino. Like
the whole concept is he has writer's block and he has to go through this crucible to solve the problem of the writer's block that he's having.
And any creative, I know I've dealt with it, I'm sure you've dealt with it too, but dealing with you have this idea in your head and it becomes unraveled because you really don't know what story you're telling.
Right. Yeah.
And Martin McDonagh, it almost feels like this is the movie where he says, I'm done making Irish murder shoot 'em
Yeah,
up.
he actually puts this in L.A.
And
there's a reason that it's in L.A.
It's about a guy who doesn't want to make the violent films that he's been writing anymore. But he started making a violent film, and he's trying to like work his way out of it. And he even says halfway through the film, one point he goes, "It'd be great if the first half of the movie I'm writing was this big setup for a shootout, and then the second half is just the characters talking in the desert for a while." And he kind of plays that up as being like something he's actually aiming to do with the film.
As you and I both we've written stuff. It's hard to get away from what you're comfortable doing, right? It's very hard to. I think Matthew's very hard to write female characters, and he sees that.
He says that right out. Your female characters suck, and it's true. If you watch Six Shooter or In Bruges, there's an incredible lack of female presence in both of those, and the females that are in it are very stock, very one note,
very wooden.
Then he challenged himself later on with 3 Billboards to craft a film around a female protagonist.
Yeah,
but I think it's a cutting argument to make. One wonders though. I've watched some discussions about the film and really picking apart this. It's true to question the fact that if you admit your problem in the film to a character, is it meta or is it just like you trying to work your way around the problem?
I would actually agree with you because the writing is obviously he's struggling with his own writing by writing this movie.
Yeah.
But also I think he didn't acknowledge it. He hired a female editor.
Yes.
So it's not like oh, feel sorry for me. I can't write for female characters. I don't have strong female characters. I think he's compensating for it, and it's almost like a confession.
He is. The only thing I have with it though is he subverts his own faults as a writer and director in the film with so many other elements.
Yeah.
And I mean that with again, we have this conceit. There's 7 psychopaths. We're going to count them down for you. We get to this. The Vietnamese man in the hotel room that we don't know what to do with.
Right, the subplot.
And the way that expectation is subverted mostly works for me. But it's also, we introduce a character that we feel like we're going to know exactly what that character arc is. And then he kind of keeps popping back up and not really contributing anything to the story. And it isn't until the end of the film that we kind of see where that's going.
Yeah.
And that for me subverted really nicely where I didn't expect it. I didn't know where it was going to be. And it's also been hinted at in other parts of the film that your female character suck thing would have been really great to have a female character that actually didn't suck in the movie near the end. Something that could have subverted the expectations a bit. But you do have this nice trifecta. I think Colin Farrell works really well with McDonagh. Christopher Walken needs to do more movies. I know he's up there in age, but he needs to do more movies with McDonagh because I think he's my favorite character, Hans.
Yeah.
He has a lot to do, and he's got a very layered performance, one with a lot of reveals, but he also is so subdued in the role.
No, it's very introverted because obviously Sam Rockwell has to be the loud character.
Mm-hmm.
Colin has to be the loud character, so you need somebody who's going to be quiet, and Walken can do that.
Yeah,
he can do a few lines and deliver enough weight to the lines that it gives enough credence.
He packs a punch.
Talk about musicians becoming actors because we did it in the Panic Room. Tom Watts is in this.
Yeah, who I remember actually before I knew he was a musician. I saw him in the Dracula film from 1992, I think. So I didn't know he was a musician actually until before I saw 7 Psychopaths. But he's again like one of those guys. I don't think he's capable of being a leading man, but he adds such a punch to every film that he appears in. Yeah. He's even great. Now, I didn't like the movie The Dead Don't Die from last year, but I think he's great in the movie. I think he adds something.
Yeah, he made small appearances in like Jim Jarmusch's Coffee and Cigarettes, and he's kind of funny when the guy says, for your band you should have a drummer. It plays. He does comedy, but he doesn't have the texture to be a leading man. He's not going to be the romance love, guy.
I mean, it's not to say he can't do it, I guess, but I just don't think that's even what he wants. I think he enjoys this kind of work. So
I like that all the characters have some kind of trope for them, some kind of like prop that they hold on to, and one of the props that is the dog. There's the exchange of dog. The whole movie is an exchange of dogs. So, and Woody Harrelson has two props, and he feels naked without the dog, and then he has a gun that is obviously just it doesn't work very well, which is kind of a punchline to this.
It kind of again like when you do a meta film like this, where the film is almost being written by the people in the film, and you're not sure if this is the film that we're watching or the film that they're writing. But when you do that, some of it works really well. And I think that's an element that really does work well is when you add a character like the Woody Harrelson Charlie character who has the gun jam, but he loves his dog, and it's kind of a wussy little dog. Like it's not like how you would expect a man like him, like he would have like a Great Dane or like a Doberman or something like that, but it's this tiny little thing.
It has to be. It has to be a little tiny little thing that the big bad guys love. Matthew, I think, should get credit for how he casts. Ensemble casts are phenomenal.
Yeah,
he does it perfectly.
Every character in the film, like I said earlier, like so many cameos that appear, even, these like minimalist, Harry Dean Stanton is the Amish killer.
I forgot he was in there, yeah.
When I saw him in the film, I was like, I forgot he was here, and I'm so happy to see him.
He had like probably 1 hour, and then because it shot in L.A., he just drove from his house and then put on a hat and cut and went home.
Yeah, I think, but he's also an impressive character actor. When you see him in a movie, you're excited to see him, even if it's a non-speaking role, really, where he doesn't do a whole lot, but he's there. He's like an extra set dressing,
And the funny thing is, the beginning of the movie is Michael Pitt, who was who's played his own psychopath. He was a leading guy in the Funny Games, where he was a psychopath. So it's kind of funny. And I think Matthew know that because he watched the beginning of the movie. Otherwise, Michael Pitt, he's going to be he's going to be one of the psychopaths. And then it's like, what? Okay. So it's like he plays on the trope that it's going to come.
When you get Michael Stuhlbarg as well, who's talking with him, who now has become more famous because of films like Call Me by Your Name. Of course, he was in Doctor Strange. He gets, he was kind of popping right now after working with the Coen brothers on, was it A Serious Man or A Simple Man? I always forget which one, but he had kind of like popped onto the scene now. And we start to see him like opening up the film. We expect, oh my gosh, I didn't know he was in this.
They're going to carry the movie.
And the way that sequence plays out is really fun. It's a good inventive way to start the film. I do have a problem with the expectations set up by Seven Psychopaths to give us Seven Psychopaths. The way it's initially laid out, I kind of thought that they would bear more on the plot.
No, the one takeaway, because the one takeaway is it does lack in the middle a little bit. Mm-hmm. It gets a little too talky for me, and it gets you get that text like we're on a mission to discover all 7, which you don't necessarily. That's not the main drive of the movie. Yeah. In fact, if you took it out, it wouldn't subtract anything. And I don't think it actually enhances anything to it.
Yeah, it's an extra piece of flavor. It's like almost like putting too much frosting on your cake. Like you're gonna smear some of it off.
But I won't even care if you took it out of it.
Yeah, and I think both times I've watched, I've only seen the film twice. Both times I watched it, I finished the film going, wait, 1, 2, and I'm like counting through them, and I shouldn't be focused on that, but in my head I'm like, did we do all that? Like, did we miss one? I feel like we did, and I had to go back and like rewind and look it up online and be like, oh, I missed this here. But I think it just gets a little lost. We talked about last week like Panic Room having a great concept that maybe didn't get executed right.
No, I needed to stay in the oven a little bit longer.
Yeah, this was a film that I think the execution was stronger than the concept, because if he didn't want to use the concept for what we expected him to.
I agree. The performances and the technical cinematography really punched the movie out. Mm-hmm. I'm not really impressed with the editing. I think there's a lot of things that could cut, like just
trim it down.
Mm-hmm. Would have made it even more tolerable. Can we talk about the cinematographer, Ben Davis? Yeah. Ben Davis, I think he won an Academy Award for 3 Billboards. Him and Matt went back together to work together. Mm-hmm. Ben Davis is also, for you comic book guys, has been working on like Guardians of the Galaxy. You just mentioned that he was the cinematographer for Doctor Strange.
Just did Dumbo last year too.
He done Dumbo with Tim Burton. So he definitely has an eye, like he can do big scale. And I think from doing big scale from those Marvel movies, he was able to really understand how to come back and work with Matt with 3 Billboards, where that's a big, even though it's an intimate story, it's a big scale scope.
Yeah, and you can see elements of him being able to handle a larger set piece with that graveyard scene. I love the dream graveyard scene. It's one of my favorite sequences in the whole movie. In fact, there's a nice little jab in the film at that moment to Mickey Rourke, who was cast in the Charlie character before Woody Harrelson. He quit production because they were fighting McDonagh and him. And he's got a gravestone with Rourke on it. So I love that sequence though, because again, it's McDonagh saying, "I'm going to give you what you want." Viewer, like you came into this movie expecting a big shoot 'em up explosion thing, and I think that's again where like some of the marketing kind of failed the film. Is you expect a big shoot 'em up thing, and this is the sequence where you get that. You get the lavish, insane stuff, characters from the past coming out, and like the dream sequence is just so fabulous and over the top that I almost wish that we had gotten more of that dreamlike quality peppered throughout the second half of the film, because then you can make your smaller character moments really mean more.
I was going to go with this. Second Psychopaths. Yes. We can just... I don't have nothing else. I don't know.
I think what it boils down to for the film is Seven Psychopaths, there's a lot to love in the film, but you can see it being the forgotten Like, it's definitely understandable that it's the lesser film in McDonagh's filmography. Yeah. He's at his most experimental here. And if this is the film where, what works, what doesn't, but it brought us to 3 Billboards, and he's got a new film coming out next year. If this is the thing that owns his craft as a director, then I say bring it on, because there is a lot of good things to love in the movie. It's just a bit messy.
I was going to remember, now I can remember what I was going to bring up. He does dialogue fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
We studied In Bruges when I was in college in a script writing class. And we actually went back and read The Cripple of Inishman and Pillowman, his plays, and then read and watched the film for In Bruges. And we can see that, like, above everything else, his writing is on point.
I think that's where he really, it's almost like he's a modern day Billy Wilder. Mm-hmm. The writing is just phenomenal, and he does dialogue perfect, where I'm sure no actors are coming to want to change anything he's written down, or maybe want to experiment. I'm sure he lets Sam Rockwell, a lot of other people, own the characters and say things. Yeah. But they're really, I think the script's like, I don't need to mess with this.
Mm-hmm. And for the dig that his female characters aren't great too, we have to remember that, like, Abby Cornish, who plays Kaya, the girlfriend to Colin Farrell, she did return for 3 Billboards. Like, so she had a great experience, even playing a much smaller character being expanded upon.
I forgot she was.
So, yeah, so I think he does create good relationships with his performers, and his writing is on point, even if he's criticizing it. And in this film, we can criticize it a little bit, but I think there's a lot of experimenting here. Some works, some doesn't, but it is a unique experience nonetheless.
Yeah, you don't forget that you've seen this movie.
No, and you don't find yourself wanting to revisit it, because when we talked about talking about this one on the show, I was like, yes, it's been a couple years. It's not one I'm going to go back to as often as some of my favorite films, but I could see myself in 8 to 10 years again watching this one again. So it's definitely one that stays in your mind. So definitely. So Nick,
I gotta after we're cut, I got a question to you.
Oh,
because there's something used in this movie. I don't want to spoil it for people, but I don't know if it's regarded as it's a date joke. I don't know if it's funny now or it's supposed to be funny, but it's funny now. I don't know if it's intentional now, but I'll tell you after that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So Nick, I guess do you recommend Seven Psychopaths?
Oh God, yes. Definitely. It's like I mentioned it before. Matthew McDonagh is a modern day Billy Wilder. He's fantastic with the writing, set it up, and everything. Definitely go see it. There are some funny things to it. Sam Rockwell's a gem.
Yeah, and I think I can't guarantee that you're gonna like this movie.
No,
but I can guarantee it's a unique experience.
I remember my wife's like, why did they put the gore in? I want to enjoy this movie, but all of a sudden it's gory. It's like he's playing on your emotions. Right?
Yeah, and I think if you overdo it, that's how you make fun of it. And I think it's one that, like, I can't guarantee you're gonna like it at all. You might hate this movie, but I think it's at least unique enough.
You probably appreciate it if you hate it more than you like it.
It's one that challenges you as much as it challenges the filmmaker.
You might actually enjoy that you hate it more than you like it.
But we want to know your thoughts, because this is a very, again, unique film, very weird movie. I want to know what you think. I know Nick wants to know what you think. So if you've seen the movie, comment below. Let us know your thoughts on it. It's definitely a different experience, and it's one that. In the age of trying new things with quarantine, you got some time. Watch the movie. So, and let us know your thoughts below. You can also like this video if you enjoyed our content. Go ahead and subscribe too. Check us out every week. We got new content for you, and it's pretty much right there every Monday morning. If you want to support the channel, because we always appreciate the support of our fans, go ahead and check out the Patreon. It's patreon.com/KyleNickOnFilm. Simple enough. Give us a look there. There's tiers starting as low as $1 a month. You don't want that coffee anymore. You're at home all the time. You don't need to wake up. Spend that $1 a month on
and tell us, yeah.
So, and the great thing too is you can help contribute to what we talk about next week.
Yep.
So, for all of us here at Kyle and Nick on Film, I'm Kyle Goethe. You can find my reviews on goathefilmreviews.com. You can check us out every single week here with a new episode, and you can follow me on the social medias at Almighty GoBan.
I'm Nick Palodichuk, and I host the St. Paul Filmcast podcast, where we interview independent Twin Cities filmmakers, and I'm going to go out and kidnap a dog.
Well, there you go. So if you find that your dog is missing, please go ahead and check out the Patreon, where you can communicate with us. All right, so thanks, guys, for joining us. We'll see you next week.